Welcome, everyone, to the first ever rendition of For All Things Fastening podcast. I'm your host, Cody Kent. And over this time period that we're all together, we're going to be discussing a bunch of different topics around the industry that we call work. Those industries could be the telecommunications, construction, HVAC, and so much more. During our time here, you might just be hearing myself speak, or you might hear one of our guests speak. We will be having guests periodically throughout the time. And those guests will be talking about things that they know very well about, so we might get more industry specific. But please do stick around. I'm sure you'll gain enough information from all of this that is worthy. So without further ado, I'd actually love to welcome on our first guest. That's Bruce Carmichael. Bruce, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you, Cody.
Awesome.
Glad to be here.
Oh, good. Sorry, that's a little bit of over chatter. But I wanted to kind of ask you one of the first questions is, obviously, you are into the telecommunications industry. And one of the big things that we're kind of hearing a lot right now is the concern around the FAA and the 5G. Can you kind of elaborate a little bit more around the material that is being used? Or
Yeah, no, it's good. It's going to be interesting how that all shakes out. I think there's some concerns about the frequency shared, or the frequency that the carrier's using versus the FAA, and how that all works. So potential interference there. But our piece of it from the standpoint of 5G is we've just finished the testing on our 5G material. So it's been tested in the lab up to 39 gigahertz. So those higher millimeter wavelengths is what we're going to be working with on the concealment side. So All Fasteners obviously has spent a lot of time. We worked in the lab with Nokia, and bringing a product that'll meet that 5G requirement, because it's a whole different a whole different wavelength than 4G. So yeah, it's the new thing.
yeah, it does sound like it. That is almost everything you hear on commercials nowadays too, is 5G, 5G, 5G. Yeah. So it's almost like it's starting to peer its head around the corner. So I like that you were kind of mentioning that we did the research, which obviously I think comes into the entire point of it of all. If you can just say, oh, we have this, we have that, but if you don't have the research, then it kind of is nothing. Now, this 5G material that you were mentioning, I know, being in the company, we've talked about it. Now, this material uses or is used in any kind of concealment application. Like, it's not just confined to one specific situation, or
yeah. So it's been tested obviously up to the higher millimeter wavelengths, but it also will work in the 4G. So it can be obviously used in both. So from a application standpoint, if you want to use it as a rooftop surround or shroud or a small cell, or even into a monopole type application where maybe the Raptor radome, which is one of our products obviously. So it's got a wide range that it will cover, obviously from the 4G to 5G. So it's a great opportunity to meet the needs if there's concealment needed around the 5G material or 5G millimeter wavelength.
Okay, that's good. And I was, we were discussing earlier too before we started the podcast that there were actually some stuff back in our concealment shop today that was using that material. You had mentioned that it's actually on a job site now. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? Or?
Yeah, no, it's well, we have it on a number of different sites, but
of course.
One of the sites that comes to mind is a site in Philadelphia for SEPTA. So it's on some small cell poles in city of Philadelphia at the SEPTA. So if you're looking at some of those beautiful street signs at some of those corners that say SEPTA on it, it may be 5G material.
That's kind of cool. So it's even like, especially now, and I think we all know, like 5G, the big thing is that it moves more into the cities and kind of takes over the rural areas. So it's really cool knowing that even for our standpoint, walking through a city, you could be walking by something that is so compatible that it's going to, progress the next wave of technology, which is really cool. And I kind of wanted to circle back. You were talking about some of the other concealment items that we do here with like the Raptor, and I know we do monopine and everything like that. Recently, I've kind of seen some new footage around a lot of the stuff we've been doing, but I haven't heard a lot about it. Are you able to, like, I know we're on job sites, I know we're seeing stuff, but, I'd like to hear a little bit more about it, because it's something that I think is a little bit worth talking about. I think it's one of those subjects that, hey, like there's probably good information behind it. I think it'd be great to hear about. So.
Yeah. So I think one of the things, just to kind of try to sum it up or give an overview of it without going into a lot of detail, is with the concealment projects that we've been working on, a lot of times the carrier will come to us or the jurisdiction and say, hey, we've got this need, the town needs to address the unsightly antennas on top of a old brick building. So we would then go get a photo sim, which your team has worked very well in delivering a photo sim, take it back to the landlord for approval, and then coordinate that with the engineer and the carrier, and then bring in a final product that basically replicates, the actual brick finish on a old building in downtown Manhattan. So, those are some of the things that, we've tried to work hard to replicate where concealment is needed. So that's like on a rooftop as an example, or it may be a stucco finish, and we need to mirror the stucco match of what's on the existing building. And a lot of times that's weathered or, been out there for many, many years. So, you're trying to blend in new with the old and,
Exactly,
get it as close as possible. So those are two examples. I mean, we could talk about, the monopines you mentioned earlier, the branching monopalms, some of those different things, as well as, I'm just thinking about the raptor in particular. I don't know, is that what you're thinking of as well?
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm actually a huge fan of the monopines. I think it's really cool the way that you can look at an antenna in the middle of a forest, and now trained eye, you look at you're like, oh, not a tree, but wow, like what a really close replica that is to something in the wild or just out there in general. That it's like, it is one of those cool things knowing that there are, I don't know, ways to create that kind of thing. When I was a boy, you would have told me that I would like, okay, one, I want to go play with a fire truck, don't care. No, but yeah, back to that Raptor radome. I know that that's something that we've mentioned, a ton, and that's seemingly becoming the flagship kind of position for our concealment push. And I know, and I kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit, that we've mentioned in the past that there's a warranty around that Raptor. Industry exclusive, if I'm correct.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, on that, the Raptor brings the 10-year warranty, which when we went and sat down with all the different tower owners, you could name a lot of them, but we sat down with a lot of them and said, what's your biggest pain point around concealment? And they all went back to the fact that panels kept blowing off, monopole flagpoles and that design. And so it really was basically a challenge that came from the actual tower owner. And they said, hey, look, we've got this problem. Panels keep blowing off. L&A crews hate rigging the panels off. So we developed or co-developed through collaboration with the tower owners and engineers to bring a great product that with a man lift, you can go up and open the doors. So it really, for lack of a better word, dumbed it down, simplified it, and really brought a neat finished product with that 10-year industry exclusive warranty.
Yeah, well, thanks, Bruce. That honestly helps clear up some things about all the concealment stuff that we offer and that we're hearing in the industry. Because I know, from my standpoint, being a little bit more outside of the actual industry knowledge, that actually helps me, especially when you hear 5G all the time. So, Bruce, again, thank you for being our first guest. You get to be the one that at the end of the day gets to raise their head high and see, I was the first victim, but no, it was great having you, and honestly, we'd love to have you back. Love to talk more about it. So
yeah, no, it's great. I get very passionate about concealment and the products that we do here at All Fasteners, probably because we've worked so closely with the tower owners and the engineers and the contractors to take everybody's collaborative design or collaborative ideas and incorporate them into a design that works. Like, it's not just All Fasteners bring something really cool to the table, because the thing that we've done is sit down with, I say, all the stakeholders and put everybody's good ideas in a bucket and then peel it out and say, this addresses a real life problem that brings an industry to the new level. So, where we've developed the 5G material or the Raptor or, just going back to the brick just for a minute, we actually have in-house all new CNC equipment to actually match all that little detail of a brick. So really brings a neat aspect. So I do hope you invite me back because I get really passionate about this.
No, I can see it on your face. And for those that are just listening, we do actually have all of our podcasts as well on our website and on YouTube in a video form. So you don't just have to grab it from where you grab all your podcasts from. You can actually watch us in studio as we talk. But no, Bruce, I agree. You've been kind of lighting up this entire time talking about it. We're definitely going to have you back, especially now that you can talk about that the new stuff we have back there. So again, Bruce, thank you so much. And thank you all for listening to our first ever For All Things podcast. I've been your host, Cody Kent. Until next time.